Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the town board meeting. It's rather incredible to have such a full house, and I'm particularly happy to see all the students here. We love when you come. So I would like to call the meeting to order, and I would like to ask Scarlett Reyes to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to dedicate tonight's meeting to Gary Lovett, who we lost, it's over a month ago now. And Margaret's going to do that presentation. We lost a tremendous advocate for this town and someone who was deeply dedicated to public service. But before Margaret begins speaking, I just need to announce we've had a lot of deaths this month. It's actually in the past 10 days, I think. We lost John Denko this morning. And I was over there the other day. It was a very sudden, he had a cold. He had to go to the hospital, it turned into pneumonia, and pneumonia is really deathly on older people, and he died this morning. It's a heartbreak. It was the best curmudgeon in the whole town. Lions Club and the Forever Young Club treasurer. So I just want to note that. We also lost Bonnie Hughes, who was she was the leader of the rescue squad. She was a member of the Ladies Auxiliary, I guess, when there was a Ladies Auxiliary. She was very active also in the UCC, in the church, in the garden club. I never really got to know her, but she sounds like she was just hell on wheels in a good way. Alberta Funk died, who had to have the biggest heart in this town, the most generous woman. So she died just, I think, on Saturday, and we also lost Gary Johnson, who also was a member of the fire company. So it's been a tough few weeks for the town, and I'd like to just take a moment of silence before we go on. So our condolences go out to all of the people left behind, all the families and loved ones. And Margaret,
Hi, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. So on behalf of the Stanford Town Board, the Stanford Conservation Advisory Commission, and really the people of Stanford, we are dedicating tonight's meeting to our friend Gary. But really nothing I can say tonight can match the words that were said at the beautiful memorial service that we held at the Carey Institute a couple of weeks ago. There were people who came from all over, from every aspect of Gary's life, and they told stories that were just amazing. But what brought all of the stories together was really everyone spoke about Gary's remarkable talents, but how he combined those talents with just a deep, deep kindness and just such a joy for living. Neighbors from Upton Lake talked about how he shaped their community. His co-workers talked about his contributions to the scientific community. But I think I was just really touched by his students from over the years who talked about how he motivated and shaped the trajectory of their lives. and how they were able to do the scientific work they do because of how he helped them at a key time. But I think Em said it best when she said that her father was an extraordinary man who acted like an ordinary man. At the end of the service, I was talking to a friend, and he said that the memorial made him want to go home and become a better person. And I think that's truly just one of the most beautiful things that I've ever heard. If there's anyone here who didn't know Gary or didn't know his contributions to the town, I'm just going to briefly say some of the remarks that I made at the memorial. So we are so lucky in Stanford that Gary and Em and Janet decided to make Stanford their home. Our town might be small, but it is rich in natural beauty. We have many parks and nature preserves, miles of hiking trails, scenic roads that wind through farms and fields, and much of that natural beauty survives and is preserved because of the years of service that Gary dedicated to our town. Most recently, Gary spearheaded the effort to update our town's comprehensive plan, which hadn't been updated in a very long time. I'm not sure Gary could have predicted what would happen next, that the hours of Zoom COVID meetings with the amazing members of his committee, but that they were able to create a beautiful 200-page document dedicated to protecting our natural resources and guiding our economic development. I know he didn't predict that as the chairperson, he would have to meet with the town board in the room next door while we asked him question after question after question. And it was really extraordinary that if he almost always knew the answer, but if he didn't know the answer, he would research it and come back to us with a chart, a piece of legislation from another municipality, but something that would explain it to us and clarify it. And at the next meeting, he would usually have to explain it to us again, but he always did it with incredible patience and grace. In addition to this pretty precise and exacting work, Gary didn't hesitate to get his hands dirty. As the chairperson of the Stanford Conservation Advisory Commission, Gary helped blaze trails literally and figuratively, revitalizing our beautiful local Whitlock Preserve, building bridges over washed out trails, planting hundreds of native trees along the Wappingers Creek in the Stanford Wildlife Preserve, and helping to run the crown jewel of the CAC, the annual roadside cleanup on Earth Day, where he absolutely got his hands dirty. Recently, he also won a grant for a natural resources inventory, something that our town has never, ever been able to do. But he just jumped in and did this work. And he made it look like it was easy, but it definitely was not. I think I speak for all of us who worked with Gary on these issues when I say that he created an amazing and inspirational foundation of public service. In meetings we've held since his death, over and over again, people have talked about building on the work that he did and just being inspired by the example that he set. Continuing the work that he started, like he's almost made it easier for us to do that because Gary wasn't just an idea person. He was extraordinarily gifted in breaking down sometimes like goals that seem almost impossible. He was able to break them down into manageable pieces. So it didn't matter if we were at a meeting, agonizing over the right word for the comprehensive plan, or if we were in the wildlife preserve scraping mold off of the kiosk to put in a new trail map. At the end of the event, Gary would always flash that amazing smile that he had, and he would talk about our next step. Gary made people feel like they could make a difference, that people had to roll up their sleeves and do the hard work, but they could get it done. So every time we walk on our local trails, we will think of Gary. So thank you, Gary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martha. I would like to go a little bit out of order. I know that the CAC has representatives here, and just if anybody would like to also express any words about Gary, you can do that now. And if you don't feel put on the spot if you don't, but Anne, would you come up and?
My name is Anne Bernstein. I was the chair of the CAC for a while, and then kind of burned out. And we were looking around for new leadership. And at some point, I thought I should ask Gary. And Gary got back to me, and he said, I just need to check and see how busy I am. There was a little bit of negotiating with his Curtis DeVito, who was his co-chair, and he agreed. He just wanted to make sure he had enough time to really rise to the occasion. And Gary, like, I don't even know how to put it. Like, he would say, do you think we should do this thing? Do you think we shouldn't do this thing? Let's talk about bandwidth. Are we going to be able to accomplish this? And I don't think I personally had the bandwidth at all. Again, I was pretty burnt out. But I would still say, I think we should do it. And that was enough. Gary would come back at the next meeting, you know, and would have done that and more. And so when Gary died, you know, I was surprised by, I mean, we were all shocked. It was unexpected, but I was surprised by the depth of my grief and loss. And I think I can explain that by saying I was really looking forward to this sort of slow unfurling, the pace of getting to know somebody in a small town through common love and interests and working together. There was no rush. You know, it was easy. It was, you know, when I had a question what to do about a bird that fell, a bird nest in my yard, I could call Gary. You know, he was approachable. He was all the things you would want in a chair, in a neighbor, in someone in your town. So I really felt, I felt this sort of panic, like, I hope his story is going to be told. I hope people know how special he is. And I went to the memorial that Margaret spoke of, and I was beyond satisfied in a way to see that he had impacted so many more lives than I knew about. He was working on so many more projects than I knew about. This is all in retirement. You know, he seemed to have boundless energy. He made it look easy. He was generous. He was modest. And I think I speak for the rest of the CAC. We're so grateful for the time we had with him. We don't want to fill those shoes at all. That was a once in a universe kind of shoe. But we were all changed for our time with him, and we're inspired to work harder and to not be afraid to just do something. Because really, I think that was his sort of superpower, is that he just would do it. So I think we can all learn something from that if you just don't think about it too much, if you don't talk about it too much, and you just dig into what your skill set is and you just do it. Apparently you can do a lot. And so, yeah, I think we're going to continue, probably not at that pace, but I think there are some spawn from from this experience. I think we've all really truly been touched, and yeah, I'm just truly grateful and still working through it. But yeah, thank you for doing this tonight.
Anybody else? Or okay, well, thank you. So we are in conversation about a fitting memorial for Gary in this town, and I will have some further conversations with his family, and the CAC has some thoughts, and then we will be back to you with a plan. I guess it's time for the roll call. Finally.
Wendy Burton.
Here.
Ann Arendt.
Here.
Margaret Fallon.
Here.
Nathan LaVirtue, absent.
Do we have, Margaret, do you have a liaison report?
I do, yes. Okay. The CAC met on the 18th. They elected Greg Williams to the position of chair. Curtis DeVito is not the co-chair, but is the vice chair per his orders. They discussed possible collaboration with the library for a lecture series on environmental issues, something that's been kicked around for a while. about native trees, invasive species, pollinator gardens, and then also further collaborations in the springtime with the Dutchess Land Conservancy. But probably most important, save the date, mark it on your calendars, April 22nd, 2023. It is a Saturday. That will be the roadside pickup/cleanup. More information to come, but probably the best way to get information is to follow the CAC on Instagram, which is Town of Stanford, CAC, and you can get all sorts of great environmental news there.
Thank you, Margaret. And
ZBA meeting was covered by Nathan, but he says there were 2 properties for public hearing. One had a square foot cupola variance request. It passed. The second had a setback and non-conforming usage change request, and that passed as well.
thank you. Lord knows what I've been up to. The board received my supervisor's report and bank reconciliation and 2 payroll verification reports. We are actually just launched, and I'm quite excited about it. On the home page, we have a new page. The link is a little funky right now, but it's the Disaster Preparedness and Recovery page on the website. It's a work in progress. But Teddy Secor, who is our local champion and who is on the Climate Smart Task Force, really head up this initiative with this wonderful woman from the Cornell Cooperative, and with Lou Cassiano and myself. And it's a starting template for all the possibilities of what happens in a disaster, like what do you do with your pets, or where are the local heating and cooling stations. It's pretty full of information, and it will be fleshed out further. Right now you get there by being on our home page, and if you look down 3 little lines, you have to click to the link there, because I couldn't figure out how to give it its own page. But we'll get that done. So I'm happy about that. And then, just in the continuing process of working on this building, we're slowly moving forward on the boiler heating system recommendations. We have all but one in from 5 different companies and businesses. They vary in the suggestions. So I think when they all come in, we will work with an engineer, since none of us are trained. It's out of our wheelhouse, but was to go forward with the best solution for how to heat this old building. So we're working on it. And I don't know if I have anything more to report. So I will make a motion. No, I will not. I will open the floor for privilege of the floor. So all you need to do is state your name and address to Rita Mary. Please come up to the podium. And we have a 2-minute timeline. If you aren't finished with what you need to say, there's a second privilege of the floor at the end of the meeting, so that's available as well.
And just say your name and address for
Yeah. And please come up to the podium. I don't know, I can't see you, but come on up. I mean, I barely see you.
My name is Jim King. I live at 176 Charwell Drive. Meeting board members and fellow residents. What I'm about to tell you affects everybody in this room, and it's both disturbing and the truth. A commercial construction operation has been created and permitted to not only operate daily, but to expand at 158 Charwell Drive, which is zoned rural residential, RR. Continued operation of this business, continued operation of this business in a residentially zoned area of Stanford is just wrong for many reasons. Authorization of commercial endeavors of this type in rural residential areas do not just cause neighborhood problems or issues, but they cause far-reaching community problems and set a dangerous precedent for our town. If commercial activity is allowed to grow in our rural residential areas, the ramifications to our town will be significant. Home sales will suffer, property values will drop. Who would want to purchase property, build a house next to a commercial endeavor, or contractor's yards, that thing, okay? I am requesting that official town board members, excuse me, despite the fact our building department has approved continued use of this unlawful activity, there's no provision in the zoning district schedule of use regulations that allow for a contractor's yard to exist in areas zoned RR, rural residential. I'm requesting that official town board members visit the business site at 158 Charwell Drive and judge for themselves whether or not the present use of this property is appropriate for this area and take what you consider the appropriate actions. In addition, I also ask that the town attorney scrutinize our zoning laws as it pertains to commercial construction activity in RR zoned areas and render an informed decision as to the legality of the commercial construction business being operated at 158 Charwell Drive.
Jim, are you almost done?
I am. As well as the actions of our building department to determine the lawfulness and thoroughness of the permitting process as it pertains to 158 Charwell Drive. Ultimately, I would like and hope the town to issue a cease and desist order to this illegal operation so the neighborhood could return to the quiet neighborhood it was before this business started. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Jim.
Hi, I'm Kathy Zier, 158 Shelley Hill Road. I am also the chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals. What I'd like to just go over is that on the agenda is the new business of appointing new members, including the ZBA. I'd just like to go over how we reviewed our applicants for this position. The process for this has been done, I've been on the board since 2005, and we've had many members come and go. You leave town, other instances. So we've had pretty much the same process. First off, we advertise the opening. We have applicants submit letters of interest, which were done. Some included resumes. At that point, all applicants were contacted. They were interviewed either in person or by phone. After that, the ZBA sat down as a board and discussed all these applicants and submitted a recommendation to the town board for approval. When we went through these applicants, we considered, oh, you scared me, Donna. I saw them move. We considered some basic criteria. The things we looked at is, number one, availability for meetings. We meet once a month. We need a quorum to get things done. Secondly, we looked at participation with other organizations in town, other volunteer organizations, work in town, knowledge of the camaraderie that's going on in town with other organizations. We also considered the understanding of these applicants as to the future character of the town, the values of the town. We're a small town. Do they understand how a small town is different from a large municipality? And finally, we asked them and discussed their knowledge of the pending major revision of the master plan that's coming up. This is going to include a lot of zoning law changes, so the zoning board will be involved at some point throughout the process.
We gave our recommendation to the board at the beginning of January, and I see it's on the agenda tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Jim?
Hi, Jim Myers, 402 Jameson Hill Road. I'm also a member of the zoning board. I've been on it since, I think it's 2011. We did take part in discussing the applicants for this. We've kind of already got feedback that tonight is possibly not even going to vote on it. Okay, thank you. If you don't appoint who we've recommended, I would like to hear an explanation of why. And then I've also heard that it is a conflict of interest for Ann Arendt to vote on this because she's on the school board as the president and he's attended a meeting. Is that true?
I don't
So-
know, I don't,
I don't know where you...
Okay,
know
so
how that would
if that's, all right. So I would just hope that that doesn't become a conflict of interest of being on two boards and not being able to vote because somebody attends a meeting at one of the boards and comes to the other.
I think a lot of people attend those school
Okay,
board
right, so that was a,
meetings.
so
Yeah.
if, I don't think it should be an issue, but if it is, it's something that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody else? Do any of our students have any declarations to at this time? Okay. Well, if there's nothing else to be said right now, I would like to close privilege of the floor and make a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Do I have a second?
All in favor?
Aye. This first item on the agenda is, I feel like it's kind of more like a ritual than an actually productive thing that the board does, but we are tasked by the state to do this every year. It is called approval of the books, of the financial books kept by the court. Are you doing it tonight?
Mhm.
The town clerk and somebody else. Who? Just the clerk and the town clerk?
Building inspector.
No,
And the building
inspector.
inspector. Where is the building inspector?
I don't know.
Okay, I guess we'll have to do that on another night, next month. So we'll try to do it in a quick fashion because it's rather goofy. So Patty, do you want to come up first and do your books?
Yes.
So Patty is one of our two amazing court clerks. She has kept the records for Judge Weber for about 100 years, but we're only looking at this year.
20 years.
20 years, it's almost 100.
Oh, geez. All right, I don't know, originals. This is basically the cash book reports. This is bank statements. This is also states how much Judge Weber just brought in, and also letters stating that the accounts are closed due to corporate dishonesty.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense, okay.
And you will get a cash audit by an outside auditor with Margaret Doty.
Yes.
Do you know when that's
Because
happening?
he's leaving?
No,
Or
we
just
do
it's
that every
normal?
year.
It's just normal.
It's every year it's required. So have you set that up?
You do that.
Oh, I will set it up. I gave you her number, so you can set it. But I'll set it up. But you have to tell me when.
Because doesn't she do Rita's and all that too? Yeah.
All right, so let's figure out a date.
Okay. Whenever.
Okay, I will pass.
You're always here.
That down.
And this is just basically the bails, which we no longer pay from us.
Got it.
Oh, and this goes too with it. This is a record of all of the deposits.
If somebody pays.
Yeah,
this
you know,
goes on.
whenever I make a deposit, it's all of the 2023 credit card deposits, regular deposits.
As I say, this is largely ceremonial because clearly we're not going to be looking at every entry that the clerks do for the course of a year. But we do have we have real auditors that come in.
I feel like there should be music and a gong.
And you guys should be doing something
Narrate
interesting.
page by page.
All right. We get an audit, we do a report every year called the AUD, and that's done by a woman, Ray DeChellis, who used to work for the Office of the State Controller, but she comes in and really digs into the numbers, and she has to file a report with the state. We got an extension, but it's, I think, at the end of March, that basically says our books are in order. And this year, we will also hire an outside auditor to do a larger audit, more in-depth audit of the books. So we'll be covered. Carolyn, are you here? Yeah, there you are.
You don't hear me coughing?
No, I'm very happy. And Carolyn has been the long-standing court clerk of Judge Smith.
39 years.
Yeah. Holy Toledo.
Not
always with Dennis, right.
It's a long
You know, because Dennis is only
Not
40 years
me.
old, so.
I'm not 30.
I started when I was 12. Okay, these are my deposit, my thank yous. This is beginning 2022.
Okay.
And that's the regular account.
This is 2023.
And this is the bail account, which there is
No
No action on the bail
Okay, that's
account.
pretty easy.
And this is the yearly cash report. The N number is on the last page of what was taken in by Judge Smith's office.
Yes.
And these are individual, I have folders, and these are individual folders
Months?
for each month.
Okay.
And every monthly report is in there, every cash deposit slip is in there for each month. That's the state report.
This is the
That
state
is,
report,
yeah,
okay.
this is the monthly report
Okay.
here. And they're always in the front for each month. They're all the same, well, different
Okay.
methods, but. And then these are my receipt books for the year of 2022. That's how I received them.
These are different? She didn't have
No,
them?
Patty has a
In
different.
the system?
Ledger, yes, she changed, decided to change. I got it. It's not
I think we'll start with Rita's books as well, so we can try to move this along.
Do you want to make a motion for the two court clerks now?
Well, we're still examining them.
Okay, then, I'll just keep on moving.
Keep it moving, Rita. Almost done. This is like a little intermission for everybody.
Yeah, right. If we could bring some coffee.
I'd say gin, but.
Okay, I made copies of my, annual report for everybody,
Thank you, yep.
which is just like a compilation all year.
Good work.
Thank you. I have a whole stack of daily reports for the entire year. And everything in them.
State law says you
Goes
have to
into-
print them out. You can't send us a digital
No, and I
copy.
have to record them in a cash book as well. So it's like double work every day, but it's good.
Well, it's good because it keeps her on her toes and gives her something else to do
Something to
besides
do.
the 900 things she does on a daily basis.
And as you probably remember, I have two different checking accounts.
I do remember that.
One for town clerk and one for hunting licenses. This is a pile of all my 2022 dogs.
Dog licenses.
Dog licenses, yes, excuse me, not dogs, actual. This is a copy of my deposits. These are my bank statements for the year. And,
I think you can put
That's
them all
about
back
it.
in the box now, unless somebody has a burning desire.
oh, I will summarize my year for you.
Yes, please summarize your year for us.
Thank you.
I went up $50 in hunting licenses. I went down $40 in dog enumeration fees, but that's a good thing.
Oh, okay.
I went up $85 in licenses for dogs.
That's good.
Marriage licenses, we had 14.
Hey. Mazel tov.
For town clerk fees, in a total, I went up $800, but a lot of that included a lot of death certificates.
Only one? Oh, only that one birth certificate because that
Only
has to
one
be-
birth certificate. I did 67 handicap parking permits. My fees to the state for dog licenses was up $34. My fees for hunting licenses was up $1,000 to the state. And for marriages, because we didn't have as many as the year before, I went down by $180. But overall, $900 more than 2021.
Thank you, Rita.
Okay, you're welcome.
Okay, so as soon as Rita resumes her post, Rita, don't you? We'll have to get the building inspector in next month, or Katrina, I don't know what happened. But I'd like to make a motion to accept, is that what we do?
Yep.
Accept the 2022 approval of the books for both town court clerks.
All in favor?
Aye. And,
I said aye.
okay, I didn't hear you.
Aye.
And then I'd like to make a motion for approval of the 2022 books of the town clerk.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We had a lot of openings and turnovers in committees, so we're going to vote on those nominations now. The nominee to be appointed to the CAC is Natalie O'Malley. So I make a motion to accept, approve of that nomination.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. The nomination to join the Rec Commission is for Nicole Callahan. I make a motion to approve that. Her.
Second.
Both of you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For the Board of Assessment Review, Lori Downey.
Second.
You two start doing it together. All in favor?
Aye. And for the Zoning Board of Appeals, the nominee, or the request was for Devo Martini.
I'll go first if we're doing roll call.
Yeah.
That's what you're going for.
Because you asked if we would explain our vote. So, I don't know, Bob, interrupt me because it is like a personnel issue, so I don't want to cross any lines talking about.
I don't know what you're going to
Okay,
say.
good. I guess we'll stop me if I say something I'm not supposed to say. So I really appreciate Kathy Zier talking about the process that the ZBA used, that they had multiple applicants, that they interviewed multiple people. I think it was 4 weeks ago that the ZBA informed the town board that they had a first choice, they had a second choice. And I specifically told the supervisor that I approved of the second choice. I did not approve of the first choice. Even though I appreciated the effort of the ZBA, I did not approve of the first choice. So I'm willing to approve the second choice, but not the first, excuse me, the first choice from the interview process.
There was no second choice. You didn't do the second choice, so.
When I spoke to Kathy, I was told there was a distant second choice.
I was told there was a second choice.
But I also was told it was distant, and I was.
I just asked Kathy, she said we did not get a second.
We didn't have a consensus on a second choice.
Okay, there was a consensus on the first choice.
Yes.
Was there like, so was it unanimous? So was it, the
Yes.
second choice was split? It was a split vote? Do you remember what the
It
vote
was
was?
a majority.
A majority down?
It was not to accept.
It was not to accept. Okay.
That's why I said it was a distant second choice.
Okay,
I thought it was a distant second choice, not
I
a second
understood
choice.
that there was someone else who had been approved,
No.
but was not the first choice.
And I don't even know who the second choice you're speaking of right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that I can say,
I'm not going to
Yeah.
say out loud, Kathy,
No, I
who-
don't
what
think-
you said to
No,
me.
but I'm just puzzled.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later then.
Or maybe we should all talk.
No, well, whatever, let's just,
Okay.
so
All
are
right.
you
That,
done?
I'm done with my letters now.
Okay.
Okay.
Roll call vote, Wendy Burton,
My vote is yes.
Ann Aaron,
I am abstaining.
Margaret Fallon. So there is no vote.
There's no vote yet.
No approval.
No approval. So, I guess, my question to the ZBA is logistical, basically. It's like, what do you want us to do now? Do you want for us to run another ad? Do you want to reconsider the applicants that you had? Do you want, at one point, Kathy and I had a
Well, I asked for an explanation. I haven't heard the explanation yet, so.
do you mean you want specifics of why?
I don't know that because it's a personnel issue and because there was an
Well, then there should be a
application.
conflict of interest and you should be able to vote.
No, she just
I don't-
means talking about
No,
a
no, I'm-
person in
yeah.
public as opposed to in executive session. But I don't know.
I don't think you're under any obligation to state reasons or discuss that further if you don't wish to.
But is it, forget the obligations, is it illegal, is it?
To discuss a person for us at the school board, we can't discuss anything about a specific individual, whether it's student, staff, community member, unless we go into executive
Well,
session.
I guess, I would say.
That's, I think, what the question is.
I would say, like, traditionally, the board frequently, not always, but usually takes whatever, whether it's the CAC, whether it's the rec commission, they usually do take that group's nominee. That's not always the case, but it usually is.
Well, wasn't Bob turned down? Weren't you turned down for the, anyway? I'm sorry.
Well, no, but I would just like to say, like, why it is unusual for what I am doing. I think it's because I don't see the job just as being like a rubber stamp. You know, I feel like we were elected by the people of the town to make the decision that we think is best. I don't think the person in question best represents the town. And I guess that's the easiest way for me to explain my vote without going into personal detail.
So we made a poor decision. We made a poor recommendation.
No, I'm saying that I appreciate, as I said, Kathy went through your explanation. I'm saying I disagree with you. I'm saying that is part of my job, is to make these votes and these decisions, and I disagree with you.
Excuse me, may I speak? My name is Pat Chairman.
Sure.
I'm on zoning board.
Yeah.
We're going to reopen privilege of the floor for
Oh,
a second.
yeah, that's fine. Right. Can we do that? We can do that.
No, we can do what you want.
My name's Pat Chairman. I'm on the zoning board on 327 Jameson Hill Road. Our choice that we made was good for the zoning board. We didn't look at personalities. We looked at what they can do for us. Somebody we can work together with. Somebody that has experience. Someone that actually cares. As far as his personality goes, I have no idea. I knew none of the people, personalities. I took his qualifications and I agreed, like we all agreed on the same person. Not because of anything he did or what people feel he is. We did it for what's good for the zoning board. And believe me, we can handle people that gets out of hand on the zoning board. Our board works very well.
I'm sorry, when you say you can handle people who get out of hand, I don't
Well, you
understand.
mentioned that he's not good for the town. If he wasn't good for the town, we wouldn't know, we wouldn't even pick if he wasn't good for the town. Because believe me, my true belief, as some people in here already know, it's what's good for the town I care about. Not who I am or not what policy or anything. It's what's good for the town. And this guy happens to care.
No,
And
but
I
I'm
don't
just
know him
saying,
personally.
I'm just confused when you said that you can, I don't understand what you mean when you say you could handle the people on the,
They go along and they work with us.
Okay.
They do what we have to do. It's not just sitting at the board and making a rubber stamp, because I'm not a rubber stamp person. We have to inspect. We have to go over laws. We have to go over to the zoning board, which people send down to us, because we can't change anything. We go by the book, and we get it done.
So how many, just for everyone here, because like not everyone is in the loop, so how many applicants were there for the position?
4.
4, okay.
4 plus,
There were 6.
there were 6,
There were
but
6, okay.
4 actually
Okay.
met face to face.
All right, and so then, and then there were the others, you had the phone interview?
I think it was 6 total. There were 6
I don't
total.
know if this is the right
I
way
don't
that
either.
we're handling this discussion.
Okay, sure.
You know, I think that.
I guess my point was just that, like, when you talked about what you were thinking of, it was also like how you worked with the individual. So there were a lot of factors that went into your decision.
Like I presented initially.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
All right,
thank you.
understand?
Yeah.
That's what we did with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay, let's go back to the rest of the meeting.
Well, does anyone else from the ZBA want to make a statement or comment?
I don't.
Well, I think they should have a chance to say their.
Ben Rathjen, 158 Charwell Drive, the lovely gentleman that we just heard about here. I wanted to just say how we had gone through the applicants, and a lot of them had issues with being available for meetings, which is obviously a very important thing. Some of them were part-time residents of the town of Stanfordville, which we feel like aren't really plugged into what's going on in the town, so therefore not a great candidate. And there was another candidate that was very new to the area, which we also thought wasn't really a good thing for that type of position.
Thank you.
I think this is an incredibly unfortunate position that all of us are in. I know that the ZBA is probably the most effective, long-standing committee in the town. There's no doubt in my mind of the value of this committee. I think Kathy probably knows more about zoning than anybody in Stanford, hands down. And I'm sure that this is being viewed as a rebuke of you guys, of not trusting your judgment, I'm sure. As I said, I think this is a horrible position for all of us to be in. I do very clearly remember talking to Kathy and saying, this is a controversial pick on your part, because it's a very, I don't even know how to say this. I think you all know what I'm saying, that this is a man who is passionate, who works for the fire company, who is doing, is a longtime resident. I'm sure he knows every single parcel of street in the town and every single parcel of land, but has a history of volatility, he may be the best candidate for the ZBA, and that makes, it's upsetting that apparently this board can't just say, great, go with it. But I think we also are looking at what is our duty to figure out if this is the best choice for the town. And it's a horrible question to be asked. I can only say that my board members, everybody, this is probably the most difficult decision we've had to make for the 3 years that well, you haven't been with us for 3 years, but 3 years that Margaret and I have been together. I know there is a history in this town of other boards turning down applicants or recommended people for committees. We haven't done that before. So you have to believe that a lot of painstaking, heart, soul-searching went into this decision. And I don't know what else to say. I regret the whole thing. But I need to know how you guys want me to move forward.
Well, we only had one recommendation, so I don't see you can either approve them or not approve them and leave it vacant. maybe you'll have 4 more bird seats to fill as well.
Okay.
Well, there are other solutions. We could advertise again, and you could hopefully find someone else that you feel suitable for your committee. Kathy and I had talked about Tony.
What makes us think you'll approve them? Are we just going to waste our time interviewing and asking questions?
No.
And doing research on people, and then all that work means nothing to you?
No, Jim, and I wouldn't say all of it means nothing to us. I think there's clearly a conflict here, but I don't.
A personal conflict, yes.
No, well, it's a judgment conflict.
She said it was personal.
Who said it was
Margaret
personal?
said it was a personal.
No, she said it was personnel. She didn't know if she should be
Right.
talking about it because of personnel.
Well,
But in any case,
it's on record, the town knows what you.
yeah, absolutely,
Yes.
yes.
That's why we did the individual roll call, yes, so it is on record.
And what I'm saying is if you want, if you want to advertise again, we can do that.
We'll talk about it as a board. I'm
If-
not going to make a decision.
No, of course you're not. The other alternative with Kathy brought up was considering bringing the ZBA down to a 3-member board as a solution. So again, I don't expect anybody to be making any decisions tonight. All I'm saying is we need to hear from you what comes next. And I hope it's not that you all resign. I think it would be a terrible, terrible thing for the town to have to go through, because you are incredibly skilled. But ultimately, obviously, that's your decision. So, the last group that is up for to be appointed is the Climate Smart Task Force. We appointed 2 people at the last meeting, and now we have Teddy Secor. Do I have a,
Second, I'm going to do the individual. Yeah.
Yes,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Abrielle Hamilton. Second. Second. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Tracy Springer.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nate Kimball.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the next item on the agenda is an update of our procurement policy. We are tasked every year to review our policies and approve them as they stand or update them. So on the procurement policy, we did a small update, which was replacing Standard 7 with the following. Under certain statutory exceptions to the bidding, quotations, and proposal requirements of state law and this policy, the town is authorized to consider other expedient procurement methods as follows. I'll explain the procurement policy in a sec. A, through state and federal contracts per General Municipal Law 104. B, through certain county contracts, except contracts involving services subject to Article 9 of the New York State Labor Law per General Municipal Law 103. Preferred source providers pursuant to State Finance Law 162. Purchases through the New York State Office of General Services. Preferred source organizations and OGS pre-qualified contractors pursuant to GML 104. Notwithstanding Standard 3, where procurement is expedited under this Standard 7, if no public bid solicitation is required under the applicable exception listed above, then no RFP is required under this policy. Jane, can you in a sentence say what all of that just meant? Yeah, please.
When the procurement policy was adopted, the intent, which was not written into the policy, was that if the state does not require a competitive bid, then because the contractor who was bidding was already on a state pre-approved list, then because of that prior vetting, additional competitive bidding would not be required. The idea was that the local procurement policy, which requires analogous numbers of bids, just different monetary thresholds, would track it. And we didn't write that in, and so now we have. So this is affirmation of the original intent.
Thank you, Jeannie. So we're governed by policies in practically every single thing we do, and procurement is just the way, not only that we would acquire a boiler, but we're going to be converting all of the lights in the building to LED lighting for energy efficiency. So we're required to get bids on that if we want to replace whatever. I mean, after a certain dollar level, we're required by policy to go out for competitive bidding. That's basically in a nutshell. So anyway, I make a motion to it.
I'm sorry, you read it. I'm sorry, you had read it earlier, so.
Okay, Cece. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to put item number 4 on the March agenda. I have spoken with the family now, but we'll give the CAC a chance to talk about, and then we'll meet next month. Okay, so here's an example of the procurement policy coming up. The carpet, number 5 is carpet replacement bid. So we went out to 3 different companies to replace the 900-year-old carpet, stained carpet, in the town hall. And we got 2 bids back because one of the companies withdrew their bid. So we are allowed to go forward with the 2 that we have. And we are also by law, required to accept the lowest bid if it's a good faith bid. So the lowest bid for the carpeting came from Foster's Flooring. And this is for the entryway, the hallway all the way down to the court, well, before the court, where the carpet ends, and also in the boardroom. So the lowest bid was for $16,059.00, and this will be paid for out of the American Rescue Plan funds, which the American Rescue Plan were funds that were given to each municipality after the COVID pandemic. And that stipulates, there's an extremely long set of requirements that stipulate how the money can be used and how it cannot be used. So this fits within the usage. So I make a motion to accept the bid from Foster Flooring.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 6, the Revolutionary War Memorial. This is kind of odd, but Clarence Knapp found or has a Revolutionary War tombstone on his property, on the farm. And Kathy Spears assures everybody that there's not a Revolutionary War body under it. That it's just the stone. And the Historical Society has requested that the Revolutionary War tombstone be placed in front of Town Hall in that cubby in the front.
Yep, the plug.
I'm directionally so challenged. There's a alcove, so it'll sit way back, like in front of the shrubs, basically. So I make a motion to take possession of, for the town, the Revolutionary War
I second.
monument.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye. And thank you to Clarence Knapp for donating it to the town.
Yes, I think we'll have a ribbon cutting or whatever one does for a patriot. Okay, we have another policy, and this will be the first reading of the holiday pay policy. Quite a few months ago, several of the workers in town came to us and asked if they could be compensated for basically holiday days where town hall is closed and they are being deprived of the ability to work and on that day. And we had long discussions about the best way to move forward. There are 12 holidays. There are actually 13. No, there are 12 holidays where the town hall closes. And one solution for some of these holidays is if a part-time worker can come in with permission and work on a day that's not their assigned day to make up so that they're able to pay their rent at the end of the month. If it's a public-facing job, it's a little bit more difficult because if the only work you have to do is to deal with the public, then coming in on a day, no, that's not right. They won't come in on that holiday. Sorry, they can make up the day on another day. But what the board decided to do, I'll just read the holiday pay policy. Okay, summary, establishes standards, perimeters, definitions, and eligibility for non-union employee holiday pay. Purpose, the town board appreciates that certain national holidays may fall on days when employees would normally work, with the effect of depriving them of pay. This policy allows holiday pay when a designated holiday, as defined below, falls on a day when an eligible employee normally works. 3, eligibility, and this pretty much follows our paid leave structure. Holiday pay is available to part-time non-union employees, 1, whose position requires 12 hours or more per week, and 2, who have been employed by the town for at least 90 days. B, temporary employees and employees who work fewer than 12 hours per week are not eligible for holiday pay. 3, an employee who holds more than one position with the town may aggregate the hours worked in all positions to determine eligibility. 4, application. This policy applies to only designated holidays. Designated holidays are New Year's Day, Independence Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Veterans Day, and Christmas, all as observed. So if Veterans Day falls on a Saturday, then it's observed on a Monday, and that's the day that they can, that the town hall is closed and the day that they will be paid their salary. It's the amount of hours that they would normally work. So if their normal work day is 4 hours, that's what they are compensated. Effective date and effective adoption. Effective adoption? Effective adoption, sorry. This policy is effective as of, it won't be tonight because this is the first reading. We'll vote in the March meeting. So it'll be March 9th, I think. And supersedes any and all town policies relating to holiday pay. 6, construction. In the event of conflict between this policy and Part 6 of the town's employment policies and practices manual, this policy shall govern. So that's all I needed to do was read that.
Do we want to do a timeout for the students?
Do the students wish to leave now? Or are you so captivated by
You're
the
bored. Stay long.
Very bored?
Very interesting.
No,
Oh.
interesting.
Okay, well,
Okay.
all right then. Can I, Resolution 2A of 2023, resolution to transfer funds from the highway account and general fund to CDPHP, which is basically our health reimbursement fund for the union. Whereas the town of Stanford needs to replenish funds for the full-time highway employees' health reimbursement account, now therefore be it resolved that the town of Stanford Town Board authorizes $20,000 to be transferred from the highway account to the CDPHP health reimbursement account, and be it further resolved that the town of Stanford Town Board authorizes $2,000 to be transferred from the general fund account to the CDPHP account. And,
Second.
is there any conversation? Wendy Burton? Yes.
Ann Arend?
Yes.
Margaret Fallon?
Yes.
Okay, this one's a doozy. Resolution number 2B 2023, to place in escrow litigation settlement funds with Mackey Butts and Whalen. Whereas the town of Stanford is concluding a settlement of litigation which began under the previous administration, and whereas the town's share of such settlement is $70,000 plus $17,500 to be paid to NYMER, which is the insurance company. Whereas the town wishes to pay its share of such settlement from 2022 funds, and whereas the town's accounting records for the year 2022 will be closed on January 31st, and whereas the settlement documents are not likely to be signed by January 31st, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Stanford will escrow with the law firm of Mackey Butts and Whalen $87,500 with the instruction that the amount be held in the firm's escrow account until the settlement documents are fully executed and delivered. Be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to release the escrow upon such execution and delivery. Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
May I suggest that the escrow of the funds be ratified, that in the resolution that you ratify the escrow of funds as of the 31st of January.
I don't understand. What are you suggesting? What do you want us to do?
We're holding the funds now, so you're passing the resolution tonight. You should ratify the.
We will. We're going to ratify the settlement documents.
Yes, but ratify the action that was taken
The
to
creation
place
of
the
the
funds
escrow?
to place the funds in escrow.
So do you want us not to vote on this now?
No, I think you should vote on it, but I think you should add to it and that the deposit of the funds as of January 31st is ratified. That you ratify the deposit of the funds on.
When we're doing the settlement ratification, not now.
No, this is just to put the funds in escrow.
Correct.
Which was done last month.
Right. But
So you should ratify the action that was taken last month to place the funds in escrow.
So I make a motion to ratify the funds that were placed in escrow last month.
Ratify the action taken to place the funds.
And put that into the resolution?
Yes, and add that to the resolution.
Get that? Read it?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
You want to give that to me one more time?
That the placing of the funds in escrow
As of 1/31?
as of January 31st is ratified.
Easy, thank you. I'll just stick that in there towards the end of it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. So now we get to vote, Rita?
Yes.
Okay.
Wendy Burton?
Yes.
Ann Arend?
Yes.
Margaret Fallon?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, gee. Why is the, so now we have the settlement agreement.
You don't have to do number 10 now, is that correct?
Yeah, well, we will, no, we do have to do it, but I'm going to wait till, I'm going to pass the other two resolutions, and then we will ratify the settlement, unless you think we should do it right now, Bob.
Whatever order you want to do it in.
All right, let's go to the number 10, ratify the settlement agreement. So, I'm certainly not going to read the whole settlement agreement, but this is basically in the matter of Megan O'Connor, petitioner against Town of Stanford and Joseph Norton in his capacity as town supervisor. This is a case that came up, oh God, it's over 4 years ago.
Definitely 5 years ago.
6 years ago, by a previous board, and has been dragging along literally for years. And has cost the town money just because legal things do. Finally, We were represented mainly by the insurance company's attorney because we are covered by insurance for the claims that were made in this case. But we also had our own attorney involved because ultimately the insurance company attorney represents the insurance company's best interests. So in any case, finally the attorneys were able to reach a settlement agreement before we had to prolong this and go to court, have a trial, and which would have been costly. And we were fairly confident that we might be able to win the suit, but at what cost, and also you can't predict the outcome of what is found in the court. So we therefore are settling, and the board has received copies of the settlement agreement. Does the settlement agreement go into the minutes? There's nothing confidential about this.
It will become a matter of public record in the court's records. So it's not confidential.
Okay. So I make a motion for the board to ratify the settlement agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, that means I sign this and I send it off to the attorneys, and then we speak with the escrow holders and get them to release 2 checks. Check goes to the claimant's, the plaintiff's attorney, and to the plaintiff, and to Nyla.
Yes, we'll follow the directions of the settlement agreement in that regard.
And it actually does say in the settlement that 1099s are demanded.
Yes.
Yeah. So that the money is taxable for whoever is receiving it.
Right. I just think we should be here, like, we're settling on the financial aspect of the case, but we already had lost other aspects of the case that is also part of the public record that people could read in the Poughkeepsie Journal.
Yes,
Yeah.
Well, no, that was, but then this was all on appeal. I mean, there was.
Right, yes.
This settles all aspects of the case, I don't believe it constitutes any admissions on any party. It's an expeditious way of ending the litigation.
Enter fuckers.
Okay. Resolution 2C is about creating a special ambulance district. Now, I'll give you a little history before I read this resolution. The fire district has had the burden of the responsibility of managing our outside ambulance service, which we had to contract for because we don't have enough EMT workers. We have an all-volunteer fire company. It's an extraordinary fire company, but we weren't managing, they weren't able to handle the ambulance calls, mostly because we don't have enough EMT workers, and there's also drivers. So 2 years ago, they contracted with Northern Duchess Ambulance Services for outside ambulance service, which now services the town of Stanford, and it's parked over by, behind McCarthy's, I think is the ambulance's home. So the fees went up dramatically. The negotiated contract fees went up from $430,000 the first year to, I believe it's $700,000 this year. And that showed up in your fire district taxes. So I was approached by the commissioners because the fire district really wants to get out from underneath the burden of managing the ambulance service. Their budget was basically blown because their budget had skyrocketed, as many of you saw, when you opened up your tax bills. And it was because the service went up in so much, by so much. And that was what was negotiated. They couldn't get any better deal. So I was on a Zoom meeting with several members of the commission and myself and an attorney for the fire district and the fire company. And what he suggested while we are in conversation with the district was that we take a prophylactic measure and set up an ambulance district, a special district, just like Bangor Lighting or like the library or like the fire company, the fire district. We set up an ambulance district so that if the town were to take this on, it wouldn't drive us over the 2% tax cap. And either the town's going to have to take this on, or the county has made noise about providing ambulance service for the county, but A, we can't hold our breath for that to happen, and B, we're still in the outer reaches of the county, and what might work for Poughkeepsie and Wappingers may not work for Stanford and Pine Plains and Millerton, Amenia. Several of the districts already have mutual services with Northern Dutchess. We don't. We're like a standalone. I'm almost done. The other night I approached the supervisor of the town of Pine Plains, who also happens to be the fire chief. And I said, can't we do something with our two towns to share the burden of this really enormous cost for our taxpayers? And we have set up a meeting. Actually, Dennis and I are going to go next Wednesday and meet with one of their commissioners and with their fire chief. And we're going to start a conversation to see if we can figure out a way to reduce our tax burden and their tax burden and still have a viable ambulance service. They're 9 miles away. Can we still provide the service we need for our citizens if we somehow manage to figure this out? So, meanwhile, Resolution 2C 2023 to create a special ambulance district for the town of Stanford in the event it is needed in the future. Whereas the town supervisor met with members of the Stanford Fire District Commissioners to discuss the future of contracted ambulance service to meet the needs of our citizens. And whereas the town supervisor and the Stanford Fire Commissioners are working to find an equitable solution for the contracting of an outside ambulance service. And whereas the town attorney and the attorney for the fire district recommend the prophylactic measure of creating a special ambulance district for taxation purposes in the event that the town of Stanford needs to take over the contracting of the service before budgets are written for 2024. And whereas the creation of this district would prevent the town from exceeding the mandatory tax cap as set by New York State, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Stanford work with attorney Brad Pinsky to create this separate district at a fee of $3,000.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Wendy Burden?
Yes.
Ann Arend?
Yes.
Margaret Fallon?
Yes.
And finally, the budget resolution 2D for 2023. I think you all have heard us do this before, but we have line items in the budget, and sometimes we go over on a line item for one thing, like building contractual, for instance, or garage street lighting. We're over $37.95. And so we go to another line on the budget that has spare money, in this case, garage contractual, and we move $37.95 from one fund to another, just so that our books balance at the end of the year. So this is a laundry list of those final corrections for the end of the year. And the total funds that will be moved around for the general fund are $11,361.70, and for the highway is $5,772.37. And we therefore will have clean lines on the entire budget.
Second.
Thank you.
Wendy Burden?
Yes.
Ann Arend?
Yes.
Margaret Fallon?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the legal notice for the LED lighting bids.
Second.
For April.
I have a question. Do you want the bids to be open on April 13th?
Sure.
And when do you want me to put it in paper?
Immediate,
April 13th is the same day as the town board meeting.
okay, that works. Well, actually, yeah, because if we open the bids in the morning, we can announce the results.
Do you want it run once, twice? I usually do once, but this could end up being a big project, and we want as much publicity as possible.
Yes.
So twice?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you, Rita.
I don't- Is Jane still here? Yes. Jane, is there anything else we were supposed to do on this? Just check the date, right?
You have your little squig at the bottom.
Yep. Oh,
But
yeah,
it's ready to
that's,
go.
Yeah.
okay. All right, so Wendy Burton,
Yes.
Ann Aaron,
Yes.
Margaret Fallon.
Yes.
And do it 2 times.
I make a motion to approve the abstracts for February 2A, which are the final abstracts, all the money that we spent for 2022. We're allowed we're allowed a month extra of correcting those books. So we've gone through and approved all of those bills that were holdovers from 2022. And the amount of those bills for general fund was $114,443.95. And I think that was so high because of the settlement check that was moved from the general fund. Highway fund was $12,016.77. The Bangor Lights was $1,122.74. And escrow was $322. So I make a motion to approve those abstracts.
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, I'm sorry.
And then our second abstract, February 2B for 2023, is the abstract for the current year, February. General fund was $75,271.09, and the highway fund was $28,707.63. Second? Second. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of December 29th, the end of the year meeting. That was the one that
That Margaret did.
Margaret did.
Thank you again.
January 9th, 2023, which was our reorg meeting, and
Which
Doreen
was
Brown
Doreen
did
did
those
it.
minutes. And then the regular meeting of January 12th to 2023, which again were Doreen's minutes.
Second.
And thank you all again for putting up with my absence.
Oh,
no,
please,
we
we were
missed
glad
you.
you were healthy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Other, we don't have any other items on the agenda, so we'll move off to that. Okay, and so now, I think that's everything. Yes. So I will open up the second privilege of the floor. Again, please keep your comments to 2 minutes and state your name and address to the town clerk. Jim.
Hi, Jim Myers, 402 Jameson Hill Road, member of the ZBA. I think it was maybe a year and a half ago, the town board asked us for input for the master plan that had been in works for years, like a month before they were looking to have a final draft together. Yes, that's what happened, because we didn't have enough time to even give input, so we didn't. And when the town members don't meet zoning, they come to the zoning board for a variance. So we would know where the town needs work on the zoning. So we should have been in the initial input of that, not at the tail end. We weren't just gonna have it come before us, put a rubber stamp on it, like you said, and let it go. So we put no input in on it. So a couple months ago, there was a code being changed for private driveways. And you were planning on voting on it at your town board meeting, and you brought it to the zoning board meeting the day before. We didn't rubber stamp it. We looked into it, there was actually changes we found in it. And now you're not appointing who we recommend for our board. It's very clear what you think of us. Thank you.
Jim, I just have to say something, which is I had Mary Dalton put copies of the comprehensive plan draft, which the town board had not even begun reviewing, in the ZBA mailbox a year ago. They sat there for a really long time. Because I go into Rita's office all the time, they were still there, they were still there. I asked Mary to remind you guys that they were there. So I just can't agree that we didn't make an effort. I wasn't involved in any of the other meetings, except that I sat in as liaison when Gary ran a year's worth of meetings with the review committee. But I just can't agree that you didn't have an opportunity. We still haven't even approved the final draft, because we're still working through it. Your comments would still be welcome, but it's been, I believe, a year. So I just can't accept that. And I know, obviously you're angry and you think that we don't respect you, and I just have to respectfully disagree. And I would say also that all we can do is work harder to be mindful if we're making a mistake. But I just from the bottom of my heart, it is not personal, and I think
we even got an apology from our liaison at the time, from the town board, apologizing
that what happened?
That we were involved in the master plan at the last minute. Our
Well,
liaison at the time apologized to us at our meeting.
Well, I'm afraid that was misspoken. Not because you had those copies. I put them in there myself. So, you know, if you all, again, I understand you're frustrated and you don't, I get it. But I personally think that you are an extraordinary committee. I think you do incredible work. You just go about your business without drama. And I appreciate all of that. And again,
I see others don't follow that.
Okay.
Well, I think I don't know what you want me to say.
I asked for an explanation and I didn't get one.
My explanation
Personnel issue.
No. I was asking, I think there's a misunderstanding. I was asking Bob.
I said personnel.
No, I know. I wanted to make sure I don't violate the privacy of like the different people who applied. Like, I don't want to say anything inappropriate about the candidates. But at the end of the day, I understand what you're saying, and I understand that you spend a lot of time and energy, and I'm not disagreeing with you that you feel that you would work well with this candidate. And I genuinely don't mean this to be disrespectful to you. I think people of good faith who care about the town can have an honest disagreement, and it's not personal. I understand that you think he is the best candidate. I do not. And I don't think that he's the best candidate for the town. I was elected by the town to vote in the way that I think is right, and I cannot in good conscience vote for him. We clearly disagree, right? We have a difference of opinion. Like Wendy said, you are probably angry with me, but we are sitting here calmly talking about our disagreements, talking about the process, in front of these students who are seeing how democracy works. No, so I'm trying to summarize it up again diplomatically. The candidate in question has publicly at town board meetings acted in a way that I feel is very inappropriate, and I do not feel that he is the best person to represent the town when someone goes to the ZBA with an application. That, again, I'm trying to be diplomatic.
So it's from actions at a town board meeting?
Yes.
That's what you just said? Okay.
Yes. It has been his, it has been his demeanor and his actions towards other people who were extremely, extremely offended by the way in which he behaved. Again, I'm just trying to be diplomatic. And this is a position where you have to deal with the public, and people need to feel welcome, and people need to feel that the ZBA will listen to them. So I'm trying to say that is how I feel, and I know you don't agree with me, I get that, but that is why I'm voting that way.
Maybe you should take another fire company for volunteering too.
No, he's done wonderful service in the fire
But he
company.
faces the public there, so that's not good.
But I'm
I
not
think
the fire department, I'm not the fire department, this is just my little,
Personal opinion.
Well, she's
yes,
an
yes, I was
elected
elected to have personal opinions, that is my job,
All right, very
that's
good.
my job.
Thank you.
Kathy?
Yeah, I'd like to speak again. Kathy Zire, 158 Shelley Hill Road. Wendy, what you brought up about the master plan packet is not accurate. I was given 2 copies of that huge packet. One stayed in the ZBA box. Yes, it did. The other copy came home with me. Were you saying you went through and saw in the ZBA box that the copy stayed there? We had 2 copies. Also, we discussed it at meetings, and also it's online, so we did have access to that document. So I'm a little offended you said that we didn't review it because you saw it sat in the box.
No, I think she meant you had access to it.
You had
I think that's what
access
she
to it,
meant.
and we didn't get any feedback,
no,
but Jim
let's
is
go back to
saying...
what you said, that
Jim-
it sat in the ZBA box.
Well, I did
That was
see it,
verbatim.
I actually saw one, I saw it in the CBA
Correct.
box.
It
Right.
did sit there because that's the best place to keep it for when we meet for meetings, because it was like 4 inches thick. Anyway, I was on the master plan committee 10 years ago, 15 years ago. We went through a lot of different things. The committees have come, the committees have gone. But in the outreach part of this whole process, the committees that were asked for input at that point, that's what we're talking about. The town went to the Grange, went to the fire department, went to senior citizens, went to the library, never came to the zoning board. That when it was the initial process, that's what we're talking about. And from that point on.
Wait, I'm sorry, Kathy, are you saying from the beginning, no one ever came to the
Correct.
ZBA 20 years ago? Or
Correct,
whenever it was?
correct. I was on the committee.
Got it.
But when there's outreach, if you look at the outreach on the document, it talks about the different places you went to. ZBA is not included. CAC is included, Rec Commission, Historical Society.
So you don't just mean 10 years ago, you mean like the recent, the current?
The one that's current.
Okay.
So yes, we did review it, but based on the fact that the board is at the stage right now to approve something, I'm not sure what you're approving, whether to approve to go forward with the master plan or go forward to revise the master plan. The input at this stage is irrelevant, and once the your vote, and I'm not sure what we're voting on, the town's going to vote on the master plan, there's going to be a significant amount of zoning changes needed. And we do have a lot of insight in what this town needs. And my best recommendation is maybe the town board should start coming to our meetings to see what variances are happening, what people are concerned about, how we manage interpretation of law, and how we give the variances. So I'm a little offended you said that we didn't put any effort into this.
I didn't say you didn't put effort into it, Kathy. We were, what I said was, and it was about a year ago, we hadn't even started talking ourselves about it.
Right.
I would have hoped that we got feedback from you. I don't, not that we, and
Well, I think we
actually-
responded at this stage of the process.
It was a year ago.
Yes,
It
yes.
wasn't, so there was all that time, and we hadn't even started.
But you're not revising that 4-inch packet.
Yeah, we're going through it line by line,
Right.
and anything that you guys would have had to say to us,
Mhm.
we would have considered, but you said nothing.
Right.
And we will still, the process we're going through, and actually, if you did have comments, we would still welcome them, because we're still not finished. And when we finally have a working document, which I hope is before my term ends,
Yeah.
then what happens next is a public hearing. Then we get we go back to the board again, to us, and try to digest and weigh the input from the public. Then we, I guess,
Correct.
have a final
Correct.
draft,
Right.
which we hopefully will pass. and then we form a zoning commission that you will be an integral part of.
Right.
Because we need you,
Mhm.
and so.
I think what happened is you made the statement that you saw that the packet just stayed in the box for a year and was never taken out.
I'm
And I just
sorry.
wanted to clarify that we had other copies, it's online, and we did discuss it.
Can I just ask, and I swear I'm not being provocative, but
Mhm.
were you waiting for something from us before you came back with your?
We did
Your
send something
comments?
to the board stating that at this stage of the process, that we felt our information was not valid. I can't remember when we did that,
No,
probably
you
in
came
the
to
spring.
an earlier, yes,
In
you
the
came to
spring.
an earlier meeting, yes.
Okay, but.
No, this, like, after we got the packet.
Yes, no,
Oh,
like
well,
like 2 or
I'm-
3 months ago when you were here, right?
No, way before that.
Oh, okay.
Way before
But
that.
I guess that's a huge misunderstanding, because we really had not started our process. We were
Mhm.
just getting going, which
Right,
is why we
right.
gave you copies, so.
Right. So anyway, we did review it.
Okay, thank
Well,
you.
if you care to share, we'd love to know. Okay, then if there's no other business, then I would like the students to come forward so we can sign your papers. I'd like to thank you all for sitting through this meeting, and we're going to go into executive session. To roll the camera.
Okay. Okay, I make a motion to end executive session and return to the open meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The town board has decided to take action. Is that what I'm supposed to tell you?
Well, do it then.
After,
Careful deliberation.
Yeah.
yes,
Thank you.
I make a motion to appoint Dennis Bruhall to fill the the seat.
Unexpired term.
No, you said it.
Unexpired term.
Of Judge Weber.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unless you want to stay here all night.
Ooh. You can turn the camera off now.